Two, two, one.
Hello, hashtag Verse TV family, and welcome. It's week 221. I'm Aaron Mack, and I'm here kind of with my good friend Kevin, aka Basic Complexity, CBC, Basic Complexity, and he is currently, due to in the heat wave and everything, he actually had a difficult moment, but he's very committed to and loves all of us with hashtag First TV, and he still wanted to be here. And he is currently in his hospital bed right now, but he wanted to still be here and do the show this week, and then be able to get back like in person the following week. So Kevin, aka CBC Basic Complexity, say hi to our hi. You're here on the watch. Say hi to our hashtag Verse TV family.
Hey, what's up,
everybody? Hey, oh right. Now, how was that for an intro? Now, So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the number 222. Now, I'll do the number for this week, and then I'll do it for the following two. But I'll do the number. So first we'll do two presses, one press, and with your brain. I don't like that. Two more. Wait, no, actually, no, that was one press. Who is your favorite band or musician? Okay, I can answer that. Duh, Whitney Houston. Yes. Just like the excitement of Dionne Warwick when she announced Whitney Houston winning the Grammy. Whitney Houston. She's my number one. Whitney Houston, and I also love me some Regina Belle and Layla Hathaway and Brandy. And anyway, I love. And who's a man? I don't know. You know what, Kevin? Off the top of your head, that's a random question for you. Totally random. Who's your favorite singer?
All right. As far as favorite male singers, I group them into like slightly older, slightly younger, even though slightly younger is a few years older than me, so he's 40-something now. But I would say that who I would say the slightly younger person to me, and I've always loved this singing voice, Tevin Campbell.
And there you have it. Tevin Campbell he's exceptional, yes. And I don't even know why I asked you, because duh, of course, Tevin Campbell. But yes, all right. So there's that. And now I said I was going to share your older song with the hashtag Verse TV family. And your older song is slightly older, but it's by none other than, it's 2008, Solange's unreleased song from her Hadley Street Dreams days. The song F the Industry. Now, technically, it's not called F the Industry. It is that it's a parental advisory song, and I love Solange. She is exceptional, and I can leave it at that for myself. but yeah, as far as that's concerned, um, yeah. And I'll go into my newer song for the week, which is, well, actually, did you have any like really quick statements on that song since audio actually is kind of cool with you?
Oh, one just that. All right, so it's a little explicit, but I just love the message in the song where she even says not your perfect fiance, and she names a couple other female artists, but she's just saying she's not them. So basically, it's like set her for who she is.
So, and we'll leave that. I, as far as Solange is concerned, I think that's part of the reason that the song was one of the unreleased songs. Like, I get it, that, and also possibly the sample. So I'm not sure, but I could imagine that Beyonce might have been like, "Sister, I have more than enough people talking about not being me. So please don't add to that group and get the beehive on you." So let's start your career off. Let's start the successful side, the greater successful side of your career on the right foot. Let's not do that, you know? Anyway, so yes, my newer song is none other than 2022 Carly Rae Jepsen's song Beach House. Got a beach house in Malibu, and I'm probably gonna hurt your feelings. And in the song, she's talking about the complications of the dating world for those in the dating world, and the amazing things that people present some really awkward stuff. Like she has one line where she talks about a guy tells her, "I got a weekend in paradise and I'm probably gonna never call you." And it's like, yeah, and trying to think of the song and connect, I was wondering about my experience with somebody who like provided a weekend in paradise and never called me. And I couldn't think of it, but I know it's there anyway. But yeah, stuff, stuff, stuff. Oh, okay. Are y'all ready for the time of telling thank you to our hashtag Verse TV family? Kevin, are you ready? Ooh, are you still there? Zordon? Okay. Well, oh, is my volume down? No, it's not. But okay, cool. So we are going to give thank you appreciations to those that matter. Everybody matters. Everybody, it's important to love yourself and acknowledge that you are important. So, first, we would like to thank United Kingdom. Thank you. Oh, and this thank you is for people who are in the hashtag Verse TV audience around the globe. United Kingdom, thank you. India, thank you. And Ukraine, thank you. Ghana, thank you. Croatia, thank you. Canada, thank you. Bermuda, thank you. Egypt, thank you. Germany, thank you. Belgium, thank you. United States, thank you. Thank you all so very much for sticking with hashtag VersTV. That's why Kevin is on the phone from the hospital right now, because like he's like, Aaron, I have got Aaron Mack. I have got to be there for our hashtag VersTV family. Thank you. And I was like, Kevin, are you sure? And I did. I was like, are you sure? And Kevin's like, yes. So, Kevin, aka Basic Complexity. Oh, let me do the topics as well, because I can. Because I can. And for this week, the topics are. The topics for this week are hashtag wake up, hashtag trying best, hashtag straight men, hashtag policy education. Now, my famous question that I ask all the time, and I hope you are available to answer. Basic Complexity, aka Kevin, CBC Kevin. Are you ready to get this show on the road, my friend?
Yeah, let's go.
Hashtag wake up at the Manny. Hashtag VersTV221A.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
That was something else. And it's okay. So my initial reaction is I love Manny from TikTok. Like, he makes some really funny videos. And that's what sort of confused me with this, because I was watching it and I'm like, well, is a punchline coming up? And then I'm like, well, wait a minute, looks like some really horrible stuff is going on. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. No, because it's titled, this was a PSA. And I realized, no, that's not one of his standard jokes. And what really did it for me, and this is my connection, at the end, when I saw the girl talk, it still gets me. It still gets me. It still gets me. When I saw the girl talk about how she finally got a phone to stay in touch with her mom. And I think about my mom and stuff. And as you saw, the message that she sent to her mom was, I love you, Mom. And then she hears somebody walking in behind while she's like hiding from like a gunman or something like that, because we love our effing guns so effing much. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And what we are putting these kids through is insane. And when I saw her talk about how she loves her mom, I rewatched the video and I'm like, oh, this is some awful stuff. And I realized the kid was like, these new socks that my parents got me really came in handy. And the child was using the sock to bandage up one of the classmates who was bleeding from a gunshot. This upsets me so much. And I'll say this past weekend, I was at my church and they mentioned that the church was having another backpack drive to get backpacks for the kids in schools, donate backpacks. And it just, nothing struck me as strange with that, because even I've gotten backpacks for the kids before. And I was just like, okay. And then she mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, by the way, for high school students, and this is a requirement of the particular county, she's like, for high school students, they have to have clear backpacks. And I was like, what? And then somebody else in the congregation spoke up and she was like, yeah, actually the requirement from the county is that people and all students use clear backpacks. And I'm going to go a little bit farther explaining this, if you don't mind, Kevin, if you don't mind. And how I became, I don't want to say irate, but I was just so bothered by it, because it's like, that is such a reactive thing. Like, can it help? Possibly. But it's definitely not proactive. But the reason we can't do proactive stuff is because we need some federal laws coming down about those guns. And I question, is it like America is just so gun loving, or is it that chicken or the egg? America's love of guns, or the narrative that Americans love their guns, followed by the subsequent people who feel the need to keep up with the guns and keep up with the Joneses' guns. And it's like, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous what we're putting kids through. Yeah, and a crush of mine from a news anchor for the BBC. I don't know why I keep looking over at the mic like the camera is there. Anyway, from the BBC, beautiful man. I follow his Twitter because he's so beautiful. And he did a post on Twitter talking about how he was visiting Florida with some friends. Still loud. Anyway, how he was visiting Florida with some friends and they heard gunshots. And he visiting Florida, visiting Miami Beach. And he's like, they heard gunshots. And he sort of, not playfully, but like ironically, I guess, or something, said, oh my gosh, I was so afraid that my friends and I were about to be a part of, become another, one of those very common American statistics of gun violence. Oh, it's so scary here. And I was so bothered by that. I'm like, America, we are a laughing stock in the world because of these guns, because of the fact that we're not like, okay, all of these mass shootings happening, killing our kids, they matter more than the fucking guns. No, we're like, the guns matter more. Anyway, and I'll say I was just talking to Kevin before the show about how I don't really like covering specific mass shooter stories because I feel that gives them the publicity that they want. But this wasn't featuring a particular mass shooter. This was just talking about the awful mass shootings that happen in general, the awful dangers of being a kid in school in this day. Kevin, did you want to say something? Oh, actually, I need to turn your volume up. Okay. Go ahead.
Alright, yeah, just I'm sorry, but like comparing the way things are these days to, I don't know, well, based on my age, I'll even say like 30 years ago, didn't really have issues like that. Like, yeah, mass shooting, at least as far as I knew at the age of like 9, it didn't really hear about it. So yeah, it wasn't as, fortunately, it's extremely common now, which it shouldn't be, but it is.
And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one thing I'm definitely afraid the way things are changing now, like when I have kids, I'm afraid for my kids because things just were not like that.
That makes 2 of us.
Yeah, me, I'm not right. And I will be the first to admit, were we like the overall best? No. But we weren't the worst either.
I think what happens is now that media and advertising dollars is the tail that wags the dog of the United States. And we get money from people watching news, and more people are more inclined to watch the news when ridiculous, awful things happen. So, because of that, the news will show the ridiculous, awful things. And because of that, ridiculous people who need mental help will see that and be like, oh, wow, Dylan Roof, I can kill an entire church of people and I'll be in the news for weeks with people feeling pain and sadness. But it'll be featuring me, and now that we see that and we do that more, people are more inclined to do such things. Anyway, we definitely got to move on. All right. Are you ready for topic B?
Yeah.
Hashtag trying best at the gay dating coach. Hashtag VerseTV 221B.
So I just left the restaurant after waiting 30 minutes for a date to show up, and apparently I got stood up.
Oh, that's horrible.
I don't know what to say. Like, I'm trying to do everything right to be a gentleman.
Okay.
I brought flowers.
Perfect.
I've been consistent talking with this girl for 2 weeks.
Okay,
trying
but
to get
did
to know what she
you
likes, what
make
she
sure
doesn't
she was
like.
into you?
I made plans.
Does she
I
like
went to the
you?
restaurant, the day and the time.
Is she bored?
You know,
Sound like she was bored.
I've done everything to be just the kind of guy that would value somebody's time.
Did you make sure her intentions were appropriate?
I'm just looking for my person.
I'm sorry, we will play this one more time, but I didn't even do the hashtag VerseTV family question. So, in terms of I don't know what came first, chicken or the egg, mass shooters or the mass desire for guns, or the narrative that we have, this mass desire for guns and keeping up with the Joneses subsequently. And the hashtag VerseTV family yes or no question is, in this example, do you think the egg came before that chicken? That egg came before that chicken. All right. So let's get back into restarting part B.
Hashtag trying best at the gay dating coach. Hashtag VerseTV221B.
So I just left the restaurant after waiting 30 minutes for a date to show up, and apparently I got stood up.
Oh, that's horrible.
I don't know what to say. Like, I'm trying to do everything right to be a gentleman.
Okay.
I brought flowers.
Perfect.
I've been consistent talking with this girl for 2 weeks.
Okay,
trying
but
to
did
get to know what
you
she likes, what
make
she
sure she
like.
was into you?
I made plans.
Does she like
I went to the restaurant, the day and the time.
Is she bored?
You know,
Sound like she was bored.
I've done everything to be just the kind of guy.
Okay. I don't know why it just stopped. But suffice it to say, that was the gay dating coach. Now, the guy was heterosexual, clearly talking about wanting a girl. And I think he actually did say girl, even though he's talking about a woman. But I don't need to go there right now. But my initial reaction to this is similar to my connection in that I wondered when I thought about myself. You know, I always try to connect myself to the videos, try to connect myself just like with music, try to connect myself and have my own experience. And I tried to remember when I was stood up, and I couldn't think of a time that I'd actually been stood up, but I sort of realized, I'm like, you know what? I know I've been stood up. I just mentally have pushed that out of my brain, that experience or those experiences out of my brain. Anyway, I will say he is sweet and I would hug him. He's like, somebody needs to give him a hug. And I hope that played. The gay dating coach was like, somebody needs to give him a hug. I would hug him. Yes, even though he's heterosexual. And I also agree with that. He was like, I'm looking to be somebody's husband and somebody be my wife and all of that. And the gay dating coach, Lamont, was like, yeah, you're thinking really far ahead. And to that, I say, yeah, we're not kids anymore, though, you know? So it's like, I feel it's reasonable to speak like that with somebody in dating, to at least get an idea where their mind is on long-term relationships. And I don't know, maybe it's just my thirst problem that thinks stuff like that is okay to bring up on a first date. But just in terms of generally speaking, where do you stand mentally on the whole marriage thing currently? And I get it. It could change. It could, you know, but I still think it's fun discussion, fair to discuss. Now, yes, he talked about how he brought his date of roses, and that reminded me of the fact that the only time that I got a rose from a guy was toward the end of our relationship. It was his attempt to rekindle, and he was like, "Hey, baby, I love you." And I was like, "Oh, I love you too." Looks to the left. And, Basic Complexity, did you have something to say on it? Like a really quick 30 seconds?
Yeah, just like I got once also when I was my early 20s. And at that age, I didn't quite know how to take that or accept it.
It made us like seem too gay, right? Like, unfortunately, like kids nowadays, and not just kids, but young adults nowadays, younger adults. Well, I'm 40, so I'm 40. So I realize I can't keep calling myself a young adult at this point. But young adults can be more comfortable accepting their reality as gay and value that rose. But a rose is still a rose. Anyway, so my one sentence, and I need to do it. My one sentence wrap up is, wait a minute. Yeah. If he was homosexual and I was on the market, I would say yes to him because he's like a large part of my type. No pun intended, ironically. But two broken and or thirsty people can't fix each other. No shade to either one of us, but I'm just saying, IJS. Anyway, so the hashtag VersTV family yes or no question is it too soon to notify someone on the first date that you ultimately want to find your one? Yeah, and that didn't play as well because toward the end of the video, he said he's just looking for his one. He's like, I'm just trying to find my one. It's like, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Anyway, but yeah, well, that's always a goal. Anyway, let me turn your volume back up and ask you again. Are you ready for part C?
Yeah.
I know that
Hashtag straight men at Professor_Neil, hashtag VersTV 221C.
The reason straight men get so uncomfortable around queer men is because they fear that we will do the same things to them as they do to women.
The comments on the original video that I stitched here are fascinating because there are dozens of straight men saying, actually, I have a reason to be uncomfortable around gay men because one time one of them said something inappropriate. They touched me inappropriately. So now I feel like I have a reason to be cautious around all of them all of the time because there was one bad experience. And it's like they ran face first into the point, and then they just kept on running.
So that was an interesting topic right there. And at first, when I watched it, and he was like, it's like they ran into the topic and then or ran into the point and then just kept on running. The hetero people who were saying, I don't like I feel uncomfortable with homosexuals because one homosexual did something bad to me one time, and now I just take that out on homosexuals. And that I realized that connects to what the guy initially said, that straight guys are uncomfortable with homosexuals because they fear that homosexuals will do to them what they do to women. And it's like that's why women can have complications in dating stuff. Anyway, what my personal connection to that is the city paper in Washington, D.C. I remember, as far as people taking one aspect of a person and assigning that to everyone within that group, the woman, she said, and this was at the time during DC's very awkward, complicated integration in the early 2000s. And there was a lot of racial segregation and strife. And this woman who was white, she in the city paper, she was like, you can't blame me for crossing to the other side of the street every time I see a black person approach me, because one time a black person robbed me. And that's all exactly the same thing. It's that. And I take some complication with it, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're picking whatever trait makes you uncomfortable about the person, and then you blame that and everyone connected with that trait. Do you have a right to do so? I'm not going to say you don't have a right to do so. Let's acknowledge, though, that you could also be like, I was robbed by a person with beige eyes, I don't know. Or I was robbed by somebody with green hair. Or I was, instead of saying the homosexual thing, I was inappropriately flirted with by somebody with black nails. So now every time I see somebody with black nails, I'm going to run the other way as fast as I can. And it's like, okay, I get it. But yeah, we do have that choice. And I think it comes down to the fact that humans, and honestly, this is what it comes down to, because yes, we have a right to make that choice, but it's because I feel it's our limited brain power as to why we stereotype and group people. And I wish we had a better processing power. And I believe that AI will maybe one day, I believe that AI would be better. And I believe that one day we'll possibly learn to evolve as well with the AI. Because I get it, humans don't think about everything because as we study in psychology, humans don't have the brain processing power to form opinions on everybody they encounter. So they group people by stereotypes. And I get that, I just would like to wish there was a better way and we evolve and learn to all live together. And Kevin, did you want to say a really quick 30?
Just really quick. I definitely remember, and it was 17, so really senior year of high school, and I got out early dismissal, so got out and was headed home. So I got to the train station, then said I was gonna catch a cab, but the cab driver, because I was a young black boy, he said, "Nah, you gotta pay me first." I was like, no, not. So, yeah, he was just saying, well, you're not gonna pay me first, then you gotta get another cab. And I said, fine. And eventually came across, I guess, a black guy as a cab driver, and he said, yeah, come on, I'll take you where you're gonna go. And of course, obviously, I paid him. It wasn't that I wasn't gonna pay. I just didn't like being stereotyped as a young black boy. Like, that was a nuisance.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I almost want to say we can have that discussion after, but I will very quickly say, and maybe I'll go back to it after the hashtag VersTV family question. But that's why I love Uber. Exactly what you said is exactly why I love Uber. And I made sure to put my photo on my Uber account so people know who they're about to pick up.
But I think when that happened, I believe it was just before Uber.
No, of course. And if you remember, once we get to the end of the show, I would like us to double back to this, since we're not going to have a formal F topic, but I'd like us to double back to this. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for part D?
Yeah.
Hi, hashtag VersTV family. Yes or no question. After a negative interaction, is it reasonable for people to write off the entire group of people based on any characteristic of the perpetrator they choose? Hashtag fallacy education at Mr. Krim 3, hashtag VersTV 221D.
I was speaking to a group of kids today, elementary age, and I was reading my affirmation book to them. The first part of my book talks about how we're all from Africa. And after I said that, a young black boy, he raised his hand and he said, "Man, Africa is poor, ain't it?" And I immediately correct him, and we went to some of the parts of my book that actually talk about African people, specifically Mansa Musa. How was it that anti-Africanness is this generational things that Even young children in this day and age can understand the same way we did growing up, when our view of Africa was through the prism, through the lens of Feed My Starving Children commercials. This speaks to why those Florida Black History standards that teach that African people benefited from slavery by learning skills is so dangerous. And here's why. Because if you take that child and put him in a Black History course in Florida and teach him that African people who were enslaved benefited from it because they learned skills, and juxtapose that to the belief that they already have that Africa has nothing to offer to the world, he will then subconsciously learn and believe that he himself, as a Black young man or an African young man, has nothing to offer the world, and neither do people who look like him, unless we are in a subservient position to whiteness. Because if we could so-called learn skills from white folks while enslaved, then what does it mean to be treated as a second-class citizen today outside of the shackles? That's a dangerous mindset to have, y'all. That's why we must teach our kids what they brought with them when they were forced to America.
Yeah, and that's part of why I kind of think we might remember to double back to these taxi cabs. But I will say, as far as that, my initial reaction is connected with my connection, in that that was a new connection for me, to the extent that I did not think about the fact that Florida having this law of not, well, putting in the school curriculum that slaves actually learned valuable skills for themselves, valuable personal skills for themselves, that's problematic, because then when you couple that with the negative perception of Africa, that makes it seem like slavery was actually a benefit to them, because it's like, well, they learned something that they wouldn't have known back home in the jungle. So it was worth it for them, personally, for them, kind of like, and I'm gonna trigger some of us with this, but kind of like, I think it was, I kind of remember who it is, but I don't want to mention her name. But the woman who was like talking about Hurricane Katrina, and she was like, well, honestly, a lot of them getting those lean-to homes that were created for them, they're living better now than they were before. Anyway, but yeah, I realized that some people might not be aware of that issue with that being added to the curriculum, but I believe that some people are, and some people are quite satisfied with that outcome. And when he mentioned in his age group, and I believe he is around our age group as well, at least a fellow 80s baby, he was like, yeah, you know, my growing up, our perception of Africa was just starvation and absolute nothingness. And it was the same with me growing up with Sally Struthers and the jokes about all the bugs over the African children and all of that. And that's the kind of thing that made a guy who was in my singing group years ago say, you know, I'm not going to lie, like, slavery was awful for our ancestors, but I'm kind of glad for it, because at least we're not over there. And it's like, that's what the perception is. That's the perception that people have. And really quickly, I'll say it also reminded me of that. Well, I'll just go into this as my 1 minute, right quick. The Twitter debate that I had with the dude in Egypt telling me that Egyptians are white. And it's like, I remember he said to me, he's like, you're just mad because Black people have contributed nothing to the global society except how to twerk. And because I didn't really know my history very well, or much less back then, I didn't know how to counter that other than just being hurt. And I was like, well, what are you? That's not true. Anyway, my one sentence is, man, and I was just talking with an Uber driver about this morning. I talk to Uber drivers a whole lot, y'all. Mansa Musa is the wealthiest person ever from the region that is today known as Mali. Mansa Musa is the wealthiest person ever, but our very curated history doesn't tell us any of that, because our history is curated to have us understand, our understanding be the only thing that Black people have contributed to the global society is twerking. It really hurt me when he said that. And because I really didn't know how to respond at that time. Anyway, nowadays I can be like, well, we can, part of our contribution is the wealthiest man in history to this date, Mansa Musa, but okay, all right, anyway. But yeah. Did you want to say anything? You don't have to.
Yeah, I was curious. When you were saying the wealthiest man in the world was you say was Mali?
In the region that is today known as Mali. Because we have to acknowledge that Africa was divided up with, anyway, but yes, in the region today known as Mali.
And around when was he alive?
Oh, years ago, like well before slavery. Actually, his brother, either his brother or his nephew or somebody really close to him, actually explored America, explored the West before Columbus. But we don't hear about that either. Anyway.
Oh, I know. Christopher Columbus was not the first person to come to, well, at the time was referred to as the New World.
Yeah. But that's how the story goes. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, with him, that person being the richest man in the world.
The richest man in history.
In history. Then what they could have done, or actually still could do, take whatever his finances were at the time and like adjust that for inflation, what it would be today.
Right. That's why he's still the wealthiest man in history. Now, sweetheart, honey, you're saying that almost as if you think that that's not, that his wealth hasn't been raked from the land many years ago. So there's nothing. It's gone. Anyway, but yes, so that, and there's no more money. There's no more money. But the hashtag VersTV family yes or no question is, do you think we will be able to stop this Florida education lie before it pervades our entire country's education system? So not just Florida, but the entire country. And that just be the narrative going forward, that, you know, the slaves actually learned some valuable shit. It's sad. Anyway. All right, so we'll go to E, and then if we remember, we can talk about Uber. All right.
Hashtag CerebralTV221 at HeadOnFirePod at The Ancestral Plane at BMO the Prince. Hashtag VersTV221E.
Okay, so I usually think that crying on social media is pretty performative. I'm going to try to talk about this without doing that because this is important, but I did just watch something and I am feeling my feelings and I just needed to share with you. So in the wake of that horribly racist song by Jason Aldean, where he's glorifying the concept of sundown towns, I think that it is really important to talk about the fact that a few hours ago, a country music artist signed to a major label, his name is Tyler Childers, a name I did not know until about 10 minutes ago, released a song called In Your Love. And I just watched the music video. And to keep it light, it is something like a cross between American Boy by Steve Grand meets that one episode of The Last of Us. You know the one? This is what allyship looks like. This is using your power and your privilege and your position and your career to take a stand, to use the microphone that's in your hand and the cameras that are already pointed at you and actually say something real, like to put your skin in the game, like to... It's from his upcoming album, Rustin' in the Rain, which comes out in September. And apparently I am now Tyler Childers' biggest fan. So I'm going to be buying all of the merch or something to support this because you need to go see this music video immediately. It will, I don't know about restore your faith in humanity, but it might just remind you that there are still a few good eggs out there. I could have really used this when I was a kid, but I'm really glad it's there now. Thank you, Tyler Childers. I hope your pillow is always cool and your coffee is always the perfect temperature. And I hope that you know that you're doing good stuff. Thank you. Goodbye.
Text. Jill Scott delivered the most powerful moment at Essence Fest.
Anybody see the propaganda? Anybody see how all niggas ain't shit and all bitches ain't shit? You see how real love doesn't exist? You see how everybody is some kind of bitch? Do you see it? Do you see? Do you see? It's a boss bitch or a fly bitch or a rich bitch or a pretty bitch or... I don't like you bitches, none of you bitches, fuck you. I happen to love my sisters. Are my sisters in the house tonight? Oh, it's good to see you. Because if we look on that damn TikTok or Instagram or whatever, it's like we don't even exist, but we out here, ain't we? Are my brothers in the house? Yo! They made it seem like you don't love your children and you don't love your woman and you don't love your life. Oh, fuck them all, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them. And somebody might be mad tonight. Old Jill said fuck them too many times. But I've always been me.
Text autocorrect.
Word?
Weird.
Word.
Weird.
Oh my god, word.
Weird.
I'm typing word.
Weird makes more sense.
No, it doesn't. Word.
Weird.
What the
Duck.
Oh, word.
Weird.
You still coming over later.
See? Weird, you still oh. Ha, dude, word makes way more sense.
No
No shot.
All right. So now we are at the closing, and I'll do where we can all be found. And I'm Aaron Mack. This has been week 221 and of #VersTV. You can find me, Aaron Mack, AARONMCK, at BERSTEAB.com. And you can find VersTV all over social media, #BERSTEAB. And you can find, we're all over social media. You can find Kevin, aka CBC Basic Complexity, at you can email Kevin basiccomplexity at versetv.com, BASICCOMPLEXITY. 2 words, you just push them together. I did the hand thing, Kevin. Anyway, but yeah, 2 words, you push them together. Basic Complexity at versetv.com. You can also find them on TikTok at My Basic Complexity and on Instagram at Basic Complexity. All right, #VersTV family. We will see you next week. But how much time is this? Oh, an hour and 9 minutes. Maybe we'll take the Uber talk offline, unless you really want to talk about it right now.
I mean, we can.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as far as Uber, unfortunately, there are certain things that are universal experiences. And I remember one time in college, on a rainy night, I was like, you know what? I don't want to walk all the way back to the dorm. I want to catch a cab, because I was in Adams Morgan. And I was like, you know what? I want to catch a cab back to the dorm. And I forget what part of town Howard is in. But anyway, catch a cab back to the dorm. And I remember I would wave cabs down, like trying to be like New York City, sweet, fancy. And they would keep passing me by in the rain. Hi, please, please. Hi, somebody. And eventually a cab driver did finally pick me up. And that's interesting. Like, I guess even back then, I was having conversations with cab drivers. And he was like, I asked him, why did so many people just pass me by? Because I was aware of the stereotype and cab drivers passing by black people, but I didn't really realize it was a thing. And I asked him, and he was like, I appreciate what he said. You know, he didn't just say, well, you know, they're passing you by because, you know, you're black. But he made a really interesting point that sort of helped me feel differently. But he was like, taxi drivers, when they drop somebody off, they make more money if they're dropping somebody off in an area where they can quickly pick somebody else up. And black neighborhoods, not so much just against black people just because they're black, but black neighborhoods are not going to have the quick pickup for somebody else to take somewhere because it'll be more residential. And I realize and accept that as reality, particularly at that time in DC, because the less black, quote, black neighborhoods had much more stuff going on in them. The black neighborhoods were almost like a bedroom community. You know, you go there, and if it's not the projects, it's still just houses anyway. So there's no guarantee you would get somebody else on a pickup. Now, it just so happened I was going to Howard, so that was anyway. I know, right? Like DC, man, it's an interest. DC's gone through a lot. And at that time, Howard you know, you want to know something interesting, Kevin? I remember initially I was looking at going to Morehouse, right? And I ended up deciding on Howard. Great choice. The number one HBCU in the country now, thanks. And they were talking about how all of the HBCUs are in the middle of what's considered the ghetto. And I remember when I came to DC, I felt like it was kind of no exception at Howard. Now that's definitely not the case because all of DC is extremely expensive. And Howard, I remember hearing, you know what, I'm not going to share that. I'm not going to share that. Basic Complexity, did you want to say something? Oh, and as far as Uber, that's why I'm glad Uber exists, because even though I got along well with that taxi driver, and he was a beautiful Indian man, even though I got along well with that taxi driver and we had good conversation about why taxi drivers pass black people, it's like, that's why I like Uber, because when the person can decide if they're going to want to pick you up, they can pick you up. But if they see your photo and they don't want to pick you up, they don't have to. Oh, well, great. You know, but you're still in the system to get a ride. And that's why I patronize, I think that's the word, Uber quite a bit. And now taxi drivers are like, oh my gosh, this Uber thing is making it so hard for us to make money. My granddad drove a taxi for a little while, so I'm not like anti-taxi driver. Nevertheless, I'm like, well, maybe if you all didn't pass by so many black people and just make that the thing, that like even jokes on TV were like, taxi drivers and passing black people, that's funny. You know, maybe if there was a little more compassion for the individual outside of, and this connects back to the topic C rather, talking about writing off an entire group of people due to a negative interaction with one. And it's like, I get it. But, oh well, Uber's here. I'm happily spending money with Uber. Sorry. Basic Complexity, did you want to say something?
I don't believe anything I can think of.
Oh, you don't care about the Uber situation? Even though you're the reason that we're talking about the Uber thing?
I'm sorry?
The whole reason that I didn't just end the show right there was because you were like, I said, well, should we talk about the Uber thing? And you were like, yeah, let's talk about the Uber thing. So I talked about the Uber thing.
Okay. As far as the Uber thing, at least the way I see it, definitely warned up when Uber started to become popular, made a difference. So wouldn't it deal with all the cab drivers? Because some of them are not best.
Yeah, you know, and I get it. You have a bad experience with one or some. Like, I even had a taxi driver that I had to use because I thought I lost my phone up here, and he was a black guy. And he was like, yeah, but, you know, we don't like picking up black people because sometimes they'll rob us. And it's like, I get it. That sucks. It does. You know, at the end of the day, though, that's why I'm like, I'm an Uber person. I don't have to worry about the person worrying about that. Anyway, Basic Complexity, yeah. We'll talk to you later, #VerseTV family. Peace, #VerseTV.com. Stay blessed. All right.